Na 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 na. Hey, gotta love that podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey, yeah, I love that podcast show. Oh, BS and beer is the place to go to get all the Saints news. Hell yeah, podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey, gotta
Is that what
love
we're gonna
that
have now?
podcast show. Na 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 na. Hey,
Really?
yeah, I love your podcast show.
I gotta wait. Yeah. Man, we love you too. Welcome in another week, another edition. It's the BS and Beer podcast crew recording live here at the SEC Sports Pub with me, Heath and Tomas to my right, to my left, Tomas Mauricio. I'm Dave Romero, and I'm your host. And for the next hour, we'll be talking more Saints and useless information than anyone needs to know about. So, from Ruston to Monroe, Farmerville to Jonesboro, grab a drink, sit back, relax, because we're going to do the SEC Pub and 97.7 Sports Talk Radio, BS and Beer style. Gentlemen, I'm having reservations of whether or not I am going to go to camp this year.
Yeah.
Again, today, the pilot of, I don't know what airline it was. You see that? Gets sucked out the window.
Airlines.
Szechuan.
Szechuan.
Like Szechuan chicken?
Yeah. And that's my favorite kind of chicken.
Oh, it's like what? What
Here's
happened?
the thing. A
front
few weeks
windshield.
ago, yeah, I mean, now the front windshields, but a couple of weeks ago, a lady dies because she gets sucked out of the side window.
But a big difference, right? The side window's only this big.
Right.
So all her bones were pretty much crushed. It was the front windshield on this plane.
I mean,
So the only thing that held him in was his
seatbelt. Well, see,
Other than that, though, he was like,
and I'm already scared of flying. Like, I don't even turn on my little thing on the air blower because I feel like I'm diverting power away from the engines.
Lord
and then,
have mercy.
Like, the thing too, if you ever watch them, they in case of emergency, that little thing drops down. It's like it looks like
oxygen
but it looks like a parquet margarine cup on a Ziploc sandwich bag, and they tell you to breathe lightly.
Yeah.
Breathe normal.
Yeah, breathe
normal.
breathe
Yeah,
normal,
The bag
yeah.
doesn't inflate. That's normal. Don't
Yeah.
worry. The oxygen is still
And
coming through.
They said tug lightly.
Yeah.
well, you
I
know,
mean, when you shoulder rolling at 200 miles an hour.
Well, my
lightly's-
favorite part is when they tell you, make sure you put yours on first before you help other people. Well, hell yeah, I'm putting mine on first. I don't care about these other people.
Each man for yourself.
Yeah.
well,
All
you-
right.
you have to put in the miles to get used to it. You see?
No, I mean, I've done plenty of flying. I'm really not that scared of it, but you have to reconsider
I'm not
now.
scared of flying. I'm scared of crashing.
Yeah.
Flying
It's the-
part
what
of
is
it.
it? Sudden deceleration syndrome?
Yeah.
That gets you every
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
All right, so we got, again, tons of Saints news to talk about. We had minicamp this past weekend.
Yeah.
All kinds of interesting stuff. Some fan favorites not on the team anymore. And we're not talking about Fleener, Heath. All right. Adam Big Hill got cut. So
Yeah.
I think that was Tomas's guy.
That's
was
one of
it?
the guys I
One of
like.
the guys,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
he was a
He'll
fan
be
favorite.
back.
Doesn't
He'll be
matter.
back.
Yes, it's you
Why?
never
okay,
know.
Okay, well,
Well, he's
we'll get
already
into
been
that.
cutting back a few
Several
times
times,
already.
yeah.
but
Yeah,
not this
he'll be
time of
back.
the year. So
No, I
Tomas,
think he's done this time. That's all right.
Tomas,
Yes, sir.
Adrian Peterson.
I know your boy.
That's my buddy, man.
Yeah.
You know what? He hasn't written. He hasn't texted. I don't know. I thought maybe he got.
His feelings got hurt.
Maybe
He didn't
maybe.
write you a note on that po' boy rapper?
No, I thought at least he'd hit and find me on Twitter and say, hey, Dave, man, I thought we had a moment.
Yeah.
I
Well, he
guess
might now. Now that he's coming back.
Yeah, well,
He
that's
might
what
say,
I'm
hey,
hoping for. It's like, where's my
poor
buddy?
boy buddy?
What,
Yeah.
what do? You go back and you reestablish old
He might
friendships.
be looking for a
and-
sausage sandwich now. Well, you know, I mean, hot sausage sandwich is very
okay.
popular.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Shrimp po' boy. Okay.
Well, it could be a shrimp poor boy in some
Whatever.
people's cases. I mean, you never
All
know.
right. So we also have a bunch of signings. All of our draft picks. I don't know if all of them. There might be
All
one or
but
two.
one.
All but one. The guy's holding out.
Yeah.
Traquan.
Traquan wants an extra $50 in a signing bonus. He says, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the only thing you can hold out for is the bonus.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you
saying.
what. Let's get this show started.
Let's get it started, brother.
Get all this news out of the way. All right, so we got so much to talk about. I think today it's like all about the running backs. We got Adrian Peterson. We have we already kind of talked about it, but Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram suspended. Who's going to take his place? All that and more in the second segment. But right now, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Adam Big Hill. That's Tomas's fave, and actually a fan favorite. I was surprised by it. And when you mentioned a little bit earlier that you thought that he'll be back, that's one thing when you're only dealing with a 53-man roster. It's another, why did the guy get cut in
now
preseason, not even preseason, in off-season conditioning?
Yeah.
That's a little bit worrisome for me.
Yeah. I've I guess, they signed a few guys. One of them was a linebacker, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently he just looked better than what Big Hill did, and they needed a spot, I guess. Is that right? I mean, did they need a?
I mean,
at this point, I guess they need a roster spot, right?
Yeah, you only have 90, so you have to cut people if you're going to sign people because they're at 90 already. So yeah, that's what it is.
It's just, okay, look, I realize that the guy hasn't been a superstar, and I mean, in one season he's done he's a solid spec. He was an all-star in Canada.
Yeah,
and he can't even be on a 90-man roster. It's hard to understand.
Well, we'll go back to what you said before. What you said before is when you replace your second stringers, right? When your starters become your second stringers, you know you've moved up. And you look at what we have. We have signed a lot of quality people as first-year players or rookies. And so, special teams is not going to be hurting. If Big Hill's not playing special teams, we just drafted 2 defensive backs.
Yeah, we drafted some special teams
and those
players.
defensive backs, they're going to be special team guys. They have speed. They can tackle. Well, Big Hill was undersized for his position. So really, he was a special team guy. So I think they just made the decision. They saw all these kids play this weekend. They liked this other linebacker, Freeman, from Syracuse, I think it was. And so they said, well, we're going to have to make some cuts. So where are the cuts we're going to make? Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes you wonder if maybe the Saints just realize that they don't have a spot for him, and then he might be able to help another team. Because, listen, all these people fans think that there are all these open roster spots and competition. When it's all said and done, maybe you have 10 spots. Maybe if you're a bad team, there might be 15 spots at the bottom of your roster that are available, that are open, that are true competition. But with the Saints, I mean, they have to look at it with the linebackers that we have, with the linebackers we signed, with the linebackers that we have that were on injured reserve who will be coming back. I have to believe that they thought that, listen, there's no place for him. Maybe he can catch on with somebody else.
There's no place for him in a linebacking crew.
Yeah.
When all the people that were injured come back, when all the draftees come in, we're going to make cuts on people. I mean, don't be surprised if some big names are really cut. So,
well, matter of fact, okay, so we signed, this name, I don't know, fullback Ryan Y-U-R. I don't even know.
Urziak? Is that
good job, man.
I think that's what it was.
I'm impressed. Right. I'm impressed. Offensive tackle Michael Ola. Jay Bromley, which is a defensive tackle. He came from the Giants.
I mean, he was a third-round draft pick once.
Yeah. I mean, and they, I don't know. What I read about him was that they looked at him before last season as a ascending player, that they were thinking bigger things were coming from him. Listen, I think there's opportunity because we have 3 guys that are pretty solid on the roster, on Yamada, Rankins, and Davidson.
Yeah.
There's a need for another, what I would call just that one big, beefy guy that you throw him in there on rundowns, because none of those guys outside of Onyemata are particularly big.
Well, if nothing else, he's at least competitive. He'll be competitive pushing someone else. We still got Levin, right? That's another guy that we had that we were thinking about. He got hurt, and he looked pretty good. So, just bringing another guy in there to push everybody forward. Sorry, I forgot to turn on top. To push everybody forward, and that's really what you're looking for.
All right, so we waived offensive guard Bolden, Big Hill, Silva, and let's see, one more, Jefferson. All right, hey, when we come back, we're going to talk lots of running backs, so don't go anywhere. Did you go anywhere? Still there? All right. Don't go anywhere. It's the BS and Beer Podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, 97.7. Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer Podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, Sports Talk 97.7. All right. So we talked a little bit about we signed all of our draft picks outside of one, except for one.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see during minicamp Davenport's, our first-round draft pick, his interview?
Yes.
Okay, so you saw it, you didn't.
I didn't.
It was the
I heard
most
about
awkward interview. I mean, I don't know if the kid is just indifferent. I don't know if someone said, "Hey, you need some training on how to talk to the media," and said, "Don't tell him anything," and he didn't know how to find the happy medium, or if he's just completely uncomfortable in front of the camera. Because I mean, his attitude, I got to tell you, and I really don't believe he meant anything by it, but the way it came across, if he'd have been a veteran, it came across as like, you bothering me. I mean, he's just, I don't know. I mean, literally, I don't know. I'm just trying to get better, And they're like, how do you think that you'll do at defensive end? Was minicamp? Did you learn a lot of stuff? I'm here trying to. Sometimes his answer didn't even really with the question. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of odd and uncomfortable. I was just like, okay.
Yeah, well, we didn't pay him to come here and speak anyway.
That's right. Yeah, we didn't pay him to
let's
come
see
here
what
and
he's
speak.
got on the field. I don't care what he sounds
and
like.
remember, he's young. He went to a small school, relatively speaking. So he doesn't necessarily have that background. It's not like he went to a big SEC
Not a lot of
school.
cameras around there.
Exactly. How many times was UTSA on SportsCenter? You just have to think about it. How many times did they go do the live game, Saturday game from, UTSA network, So I just think the kid came in. I think he's humble. I think that's part of it. I think he's a quiet guy, another part of it. And he just hasn't had that exposure. I don't make a lot out of it. A lot of these people made a lot out of it. It's like, well,
Obviously, the Saints didn't make a lot out of it. They had to have talked to him before they spent what they spent to move up and get him. They must have felt comfortable with however he speaks.
Absolutely. All right. Well, one of the things I saw an article, and there's, I guess, a guy named Chase Goodbread on NFL.com, and he had Davenport rated his 37th best player.
Yeah.
First thing that goes to my mind is like,
Who the hell is
that's a good question too. Now you can look him up on NFL.com and send your thoughts about his. Here's the thing, is that I have confidence in saying, does it mean that they could draft a guy that could end up being a bust? No, I mean it can happen. There's a lot of luck involved, injuries involved, all that stuff. It could happen. The thing about it is they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. So if he fails, it's going to have mostly to do with the fact that there was some other circumstances. I think that the kid can play football. Now, this Chase Goodbread ranks him 37th. Based on what? Anyway, there's a retired defensive lineman, Stephen White. He went on and on and on about Davenport, talking about how he could end up being the best pass rusher, and he just said that the whole idea that how raw Davenport is exaggerated, or maybe based on perpetuated. You know how it is. One guy writes something, the other guy reads it and says, well, they don't do their homework. Right. And so this whole he's raw just based upon the fact that he went to a small school. So it's funny how you get in so many different angles. One guy says that he's not a very good ball player. The next guy is like he could be one of the best players and a perennial all-pro.
Well, look, I mean, on the one hand, my first thought is, who is this guy? Who's this guy on NFL.com and what does he know? That said, Davenport is a guy that played at a small school against lesser competition, obviously. So there's questions about how is that going to translate in the NFL. So it's not shocking to me for somebody who's ranking players to have Davenport at 37. It's not like he was 437 or, On the flip side of that, I mean, the Saints know that, but they're looking at his technique, they're looking at his athleticism, they're looking at what they saw on tape, and they have to make a projection that this guy is going to, in time, be able to step it up against this level of competition, continue to get better, He definitely has some boom or bust about him. I mean, but really they all do. So, I mean, what's new?
player.
I
Let
mean,
me give you another one, okay? If you're talking about that small school, we got a guy playing left tackle. He went to Arkansas Pine Bluff.
yeah.
You know? How
was
many people
also-
had him as a top 10 pick?
Nobody, but
Yeah, exactly.
he was also a third-round draft pick, which if he ends up busting, then you can
but
get
I'm
away
just-
with it.
The point I'm trying to make to you is that there are a lot of small school guys out there who can step it up. Now, maybe they don't do it the first year. I personally, again, I'll go back and say I don't put any of the blame on Davenport if he doesn't live up to some exorbitant expectation. I put it on the coaches. You know, the kid obviously has raw talent. Okay, he obviously has what it takes as far as physical being. Okay, so now it's up to the coaches to say, let's put you in the right place. You know, like they talk about all the time in the NBA, right? We got to put you in a place to win. Okay, we got to do the same thing in football. Got to put you in a place to win. So don't put him in there to do something that he's not ready to do yet. He might eventually. Put him in there with what he has at this point, and then coach him up.
Look, whether or not the thing about it is, I believe that he will be a contributor.
Yeah.
He may not be an every down player, and that's okay. Like if he just comes in and sporadically rushes the passer. If he ends up with, look, we talked about it. Cameron Jordan, 1 sack his rookie year, 1 sack.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually thought he was a bust his rookie
Yeah,
year.
no, I mean, I remember all those.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I can't help but maybe you start reading that stuff. You do like, well, 1 sack, you expect more. But
He was in the wrong system with the wrong coach.
Absolutely, and the Saints finally, and he developed his game because
Yeah.
his game is based on power. If you put a guy based on power playing in the wrong spot, and he's trying to play a speed position, now he's a completely different player.
Yeah.
Davenport, if he comes in on third down, and okay, forget about sacks. Maybe he has pressures.
Exactly.
Right.
He affects the quarterback, but yet is still working on his technique. Maybe chasing the ball down. You know, like
Yeah.
the quarterback scrambling around, his athleticism will allow him to get in there and make a play, even though it may not be on initial pass rush. These are the types of things that I remember watching the Vikings game. And I remember that our linebackers were decimated. And they would throw these little passes, just 5 yards, and the linebackers couldn't get there. And
Right.
once they get the angle, I'm talking about the receiver, would get the angle around the linebackers, then
Yeah.
it's a 12-yard gain and a first down, and it's frustrating. Same thing on the defensive line. When you're playing with guys that just aren't super athletic, okay, maybe Davenport won't initially beat the offensive tackle off the ball with a pass rush move, but his athleticism and his speed will create problems for the passing game. So I listen, Okafor was a good ball player. If Okafor is the same player he was last year, I think he's going to be great. And I think that we're going to have some depth at pass rusher that we haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if I can hold my breath waiting for Okafor to be that player. So to have that kind of athleticism that Davenport brings, I just don't know how it's a bad thing.
Well, and then the other part is that the opposing offense is going to have to account for him. I mean, that's the thing you got to look at. If they're rolling 2, sometimes 3 people, in the Minnesota game is the example you gave. You know, you had the tight end chipping, then you had the tackle coming up to hit Cam, and then you had the fullback or the halfback coming. I mean, they got 3 guys hitting you. Why? Because they don't have to worry about the guy on the other side. But now if you have to account for the other guy on the other side, even if he's not the finished product yet, once he starts putting that pressure on, like you said, pressure, hey, we got to account for this guy. Now suddenly you can't chip 3. Maybe now you can only chip 2 on camera. Now maybe as he develops, and we get Okafor back, not to mention Hendrickson, I mean, suddenly you have people on that outside that you got to account for. Maybe now you have to evenly space things out. Oh, when you do that, then maybe Cameron Jordan gets 3 to 6 more sacks this year.
Absolutely. There's just his athleticism alone, I think, is going to help the team. All right, moving on. We talked a little bit about the running back situation. And I know we spoke a lot about it last week. It's just these rumors came out about Adrian Peterson. Now, you know he and I are good friends. We go back a long ways. For those of you who don't remember last year when I was at training camp, I just went in and to get a po' boy.
Yeah.
There's a little shop. It was on the way back to the hotel. I walk in. Who's it? I'm like who's that? I look at him like, man, this is Adrian Peterson, right? And so, you know, next thing you know, I'm having a little conversation with him. And I bought him his po' boy. I don't know.
You slipped
I
in your
thought-
phone number.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
just.
This is a little cold tonight. You might want to give me a call.
Right? Is that where this is going?
Jeez.
I'm just saying.
See what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell a good
You
story
gotta
here.
Hey, he was
Man
just trying to
crush,
help. You know, it's been tough on Adrian lately. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
he didn't
so,
know if
I
the
mean,
guy
look,
was able to
might
get a
need a little
sandwich or
man
what.
hug,
You know?
What did he? 4 million? I mean, after taxes, he's probably only bringing home a couple of million.
Yeah,
Man. I mean, that's
yeah.
rough,
I don't know
man.
how these guys are
God,
putting
buy the man
food
a
on the table.
sandwich. Buy the man a
I
sandwich.
understand. Well, I know you got all that Romero money, so
There's no more. Yeah, well, you notice the palatial
Yeah.
and high tech studios that we're now broadcasting from.
I see that.
All right. Yeah. So, all right. So, Adrian Peterson. Okay, let me give you my thoughts here.
Go ahead.
Seriously,
You have thoughts?
he had a good season last year.
You did.
Yeah.
And the
After
thing
he
about
left
it
the
is,
Saints, yeah.
after he left the Saints.
Yeah.
One
But,
game.
okay.
You talking about that one
Listen,
game that
listen,
he blew everything
listen.
up? Is that
What are you talking about, man? 10 games, 156 rushes, 529 yards, 3.4 yards in average. I'm carry. I'm not saying that he's
fabulous.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's Hall
fine.
of Fame numbers right there.
He's better. He
than Mark
potentially
Ingram.
better than.
No doubt about it.
Oh, stop it, Tomas. Listen, he's better than most of the. I mean, the backups we have right now. Would he not be a better option than any of the guys that we have as
Well,
backups right now?
you know-
And
Okay.
before you, I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
I know the answer to all the fans is going to be because the guy who's they've never seen play, they can hype up in their mind, and they're going to say, yeah, Trey Edmonds is better than
Oh,
him.
they won't say that. They'll
No.
agree with you. The fan, the
Well,
everyday
that's-
fan will agree
Well,
with
they
you
would. They
smart.
would.
that Adrian Peterson is the savior for Mark Ingram being out for 4 games. Every fan will say that. I have no doubt about it.
My argument for why Mark Ingram wouldn't be better than some of these other guys to fill in for Ingram is what I saw in the first couple of games of last season.
Adrian Peterson.
And it all, what did I say?
Okay.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson. And I don't care whether it's Peterson's fault or whether it's Sean Payton's fault that he doesn't know how to call a game with Adrian Peterson in the game. I still don't know what to make of that whole situation. No, I know what it was. It was a horrible game plan.
Maybe trying to put that square peg into the round hole. What I'm suggesting, and I'm not even advocating for Adrian Peterson. What I'm trying to say is that if you see, I'm just simply saying that if you have
I'm
3
liking
games,
this
I'm
video
expecting
thing now. Okay,
I'm
go ahead.
expecting Mark Ingram to get reduced, to a 3-game suspension. Then you have Alvin Kamara is going to take on the bulk, the load. You just need somebody to come in on short yardage, goal line. Take some of those, heavy package carries. I think Adrian Peterson could be a better option. I'm saying this. I'm trying to make an argument. I don't know if I
Yeah.
believe my own argument.
don't
I don't
believe
believe it.
I believe you, Dave. I agree with you, Mr. Romero. I believe that Adrian Peterson is the best option that we have of those people that are available to play running back. I mean, if you just look at it, the man has a history of really understanding how to run the ball. Yeah, against the Minnesota Vikings when we played them last year, maybe it was Sean Payton's fault. It could have been, Maybe it was somebody else's fault, one of the other coaches. It's a possibility. I'm just thankful that when he
There
had
we
that
go.
big 9-yard run against Minnesota,
The first play of the game.
I'm so thankful that Max Unger wrapped his arms around him and pushed him forward 5 more yards to make it a total of 9.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I
listen,
understand.
he
I
w-
think that, again, I go back and say this to you, my friend. I believe that the fans will agree with you that Peterson is the best. Now, my Ben, short and sweet, is this. To me, it's about team chemistry. I don't believe that Adrian Peterson would come to this team thinking, I'm just a short-term fill-in for Mark Ingram. Ingram comes back. I'll be sitting the
He better know. I mean, you just went through it last year. They're like, hey,
And what did he do last year? Same thing. They booted him out because he would not accept that.
right?
Okay.
And if he would come back, you would think that he would understand
he
that you're
won't.
going to accept the
No,
role
he won't.
or you're going to be gone.
Well, and he will come in and think that he can beat everybody else out, that somebody else will be gone. They'll be trading Mark Ingram because it's his last contract year. They'll be trading him to maybe the Patriots or somebody else for, for a 7th-round draft choice.
Yeah. If Adrian Peterson thinks that between what happened early in the season last season and then what developed over the rest of the season with Kamara, that he's going to have any real role in the Saints going forward once Ingram comes back and all, then
You see, that's the thing.
he's crazier than some
feel what
switch
you're
wielding
saying.
lunatic that,
I feel what you're saying, but I believe after last year, look, all the things. Think about all the things we used to convince ourselves that he was going to be all right. That he came back from this and he hadn't played at the end of the year. And listen, by now he knows that if he can find a team, because he got some big bills right now. I mean, he got some child support out there.
Yeah.
He got some legal fees he got to catch up on. If someone will bring him in for a year for $3 or $4 million, I'm not suggesting the Saints should do it, but he will accept it. And then why do you think he was like, hey, would you go play for the Saints? Yeah, man, that's water under the bridge, because he's looking for anybody who will sign him and pay him a decent amount of money.
I don't think why do I keep wanting to call him Mark Ingram? I don't think Adrian Peterson is just looking for the paycheck. Adrian Peterson, in his mind, still has to prove to the world that he's the man.
He said that.
I guarantee you.
Now
yeah.
that he's healthy, he's fine. He says, I'm finally healthy, and so I am ready now.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it's the BS and Beer podcast. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You'd be a modern-day Billy Kilmer. Remember how that turned out? Kenny Stabler.
Stabler was better.
Podcast.
Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio, Sports Talk 97.7. Listen, we've done a lot of hashing over the running back situation, and I almost feel compelled to say, okay, I don't know. I don't believe all that Adrian Peterson stuff. I'm just, I'm playing devil's advocate. But Tomas here, he's having some issues with the fans right now, because we were talking about some of the guys in training camp, the mini camp this past weekend. You said that there was a guy who was a tight end that they switched over to offensive tackle.
Yeah, Wozniak.
Nate
Wozniak, 6'10". He was at 256. Now he's at 283, and his goal is 300.
So you're walking around with a sandwich in one hand and
a poor boy in one hand.
Yeah.
Well, and a box of Mackenzie's Donuts in the other hand.
They brought him to the right place. Bring him to New Orleans.
Yeah, you put some 50 pounds on you, no problem.
Absolutely.
At 6'10", he's still going to look thin.
I know. Can you imagine?
So we started talking about another guy that, listen, what you got to realize if you're not familiar with it, rookie minicamp is all the guys that either draft picks are assigned, tryout players, or some undrafted guys that didn't even get signed as immediate priority free agents, undrafted free agents. They're just tryout guys. So Deion Yelder, who is a tight end from Northern Kentucky, is it?
Western Kentucky University.
Right.
Come on, man, get it right.
And T.J. Barrett. And so this brings up the conversation. Yeah, about this is Tomas just going off about the fans, because apparently, Kurt Warner's coming out of retirement?
Yeah,
So Lil Dice has anointed J.T. Barrett as camp beast.
Yep,
I saw that.
Yep.
Yeah. And as far as that camp, I'd have to concur with him. He certainly made a name for himself.
Now, I don't know what kind of name he made, but
he made a name for rookie camp.
Oh,
okay. He's a
didn't say it translates into
He's
anything
standout
else.
in rookie camp. I'm telling you, I'm going to do
not
some stretches.
Training camp beast. The camp they just had.
Mini
rookie
camp beast. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to skip some rope. I'm gonna get back and get in shape. And I'm going to go out there and see what I can do.
I don't see why not.
I know. I mean, I just have to eat some sandwiches like your dude, the new tackle. No. Wozniak. Yeah, I couldn't pronounce that. I couldn't pronounce this guy's name. So it looks
brush
close.
Up on your Polish Russian
come on,
/
keep it simple, guys. Keep it simple.
Eastern European.
Just like in the draft, they had guys. I mean, I'm reading and I see a name. Yeah, like all these African names.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I thought that guy was. Oh man, he's still there. I thought he was going in the second round. And I'm like, this guy's a guard. The names were
close.
Well, you're watching the draft when they got Vita Via, whatever his name, to say his actual whole name.
Oh my God, it was a book.
What is it? Yeah, I mean, how did anybody ever come up with that?
It was ridiculous. Now, Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah do a podcast that I listened to.
Yeah.
And they went through and they named off their sneaky good picks. And he named off 2 guys for the Saints.
Yeah.
Bucky Brooks
Yeah.
picked Smith, the wide receiver.
Yeah, not me. Okay.
And Jeremiah picked our tackle that we picked in the 4th round.
How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the guy, the most maligned guy that we drafted. The fans didn't know who he was and got all excited. But the guy, he's raw. You get him in the 4th round. Not to mention, people lose sight of 4th round. Not all 4th rounders, not all first rounders are the same. This guy was, 27th, and it's probably deeper than that because of all the compensatory picks. You're talking about 27th in the 4th round after probably because compensatory starts after the 3rd round. You probably talking he was like the 57th player picked in the 4th round.
Yeah.
And they went for a guy that had some potential, some upside. So it'll be interesting.
Somebody might have been the same guy that has Davenport at 37 or whatever, but somebody had the guy, the offensive tackle, as like 437 on their overall list. I don't remember which one of the talking heads it was.
Once you get past a certain number, listen, Tomas goes like 200 deep. I go about 50 deep, right? I mean, after the 2nd round, I'm like, I just don't spend that much time. I have other things going on in my life that. But
you should appreciate the fact that I put 150 people together.
No, and that, I'm not making jokes, man. I appreciate the hard work. What I'm trying to say is that after you have some guys that once you get past, 150 guys, and I'd be amazed if they even went that far.
Yeah.
But they have to give themselves, and I'm talking about, again, the bloggers and the guys that don't do this for a living. So they're not spending, how many?
You
how
got to
much
feel like
time-
by the time you get down to the 400, you just throw in
Yeah,
names,
no,
right?
you just like,
just
man,
put one here,
alphabetical or something.
Yeah.
That's really the point. So what happens then? You go to your guide when this guy wasn't in the top 200 or whatever, and it's like, man, he was rated as the 297th tackle. It don't work that way.
Well, look, Rick Leonard, who you said was our 127th pick on the from the beginning of the draft. We picked the 4th round. The 27th pick is actually the 127th pick of the draft. So, is he a top 150 player?
No.
Well, we picked him at 127, so you would
Oh,
think that the
I'm
Saints
sorry.
thought
I misunderstood
that he's a
what
top
you were saying.
150.
All right.
I would venture to say that the Saints probably thought he was a top 100 player that had fallen to that point. And again, it goes back, we were talking before the show. The Wonderlic test is, the Saints have thrown that out. They have a different test now.
I read that.
So it could be that these kids that they drafted scored better on that test, and so they were like, well, wait, this kid fits all the little check. This guy can go. So, and again, it goes back to coaching. Maybe the Saints feel, maybe the powers at the top feel, you know what, we got really good coaches now. We can bring somebody in he needs a couple of years of good coaching, and he'll be.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was a really top defensive line recruit.
Yeah.
When he came into Florida State.
Yeah.
And then he's just switched over 2 years ago to play in offensive line.
Right.
So this is another guy that, they see talent in him. Obviously, the athleticism, the talent, the size, everything else.
Sure.
It's going to take him a little while.
The whole point is that you wouldn't go in the 4th round if you were like, man, he has 42 starts. He's been great. He has great feet. His technique is great. He wouldn't be in the 4th round. Like the guy, apparently. Now, again, this is all in hindsight because I had no idea who he was either when he was drafted. By that point, you're just saying like, oh, man, he drafted a tackle. Let's see what this guy's all about. And the guy has raw ability. He's strong. He has good feet. He's athletic. He just hasn't played the position. Right. So it's when you get
another
to
short
that,
arm guy though, another T-Rex.
When you get back to that part of the draft, you start saying, are there qualities that I can coach up?
Yes.
I can find something. A Zach Streif. Like the guy has cement blocks for feet, but you know what? He had other attributes the same way. We can work around that in our offense. We talk about it all the time. Our guards are typically more important than the tackles because the Saints get rid of the ball so quickly. So, you have a tackle like, hey, is he strong in the run game? Yeah, can he doesn't have great feet, but you know what? He can
maintain the pocket integrity by keeping him outside.
And he can play the run. He can play the run. He can block in the run game. You say, hey, that's a good 4th round draft choice. It's a good backup tackle. Probably good chance that you hope that he's not your starter. But still a good player. All right, so let's move it on. One of the things that Matt Ryan signed. Now, I know this news is a little bit older, but Matt Ryan signs like a 5-year, $100 million deal. He's and there were no reports about him crapping his pants. So, just saying that.
Well, I heard he was crying in the bathroom, and they asked him why he was crying. He said, because I got to face the Saints 2 times every year.
Well, the money don't change that, does it?
Sure
Money does not change that. All right. You guys, okay.
I wonder if they choked when they wrote him the check, you know?
Oh, my God.
Could have been.
Anyway.
See, if I'd have been there stroking that check, there might have been some. My pants might have filled up too. So maybe I should.
I think they promised him some kind of ring for his retirement. Yeah, like an onion ring or a. Yeah.
All right. So
it sure ain't to be no Super Bowl ring.
This might tell you that I listen to way too much radio and podcasts.
You don't listen to my
and
show,
whatever.
man. What's the problem?
I do listen to the show.
Yeah.
Just not recently.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
in the last 5 years, he hasn't listened to once.
Why are you going to try to make me feel bad? We sitting here in the middle of the show, and you're going to treat me like, you know, kind of guilt me.
Because you're my friend. I would expect my friend to at least once a week say, let me see what Tomas, what the hell
I mean, it's terrestrial radio, Tomas. They catch up with the times, get on a podcast, I'll listen to you.
We're working on that.
I heard that. I heard y'all working on doing a Vcast like we're doing now.
That's right.
All right.
Because I can see the future.
Matter of fact, the Vcast, we have it up there on the screen. Get in touch with us, bsandbeer@icloud.com. Or you can call us on the hotline.
What's that hotline, Dave?
701-901-1295. Right there.
Wow, that was almost like
but I had to pause a second until it
perfect
popped up.
timing, yeah.
See, that just shows you why cell phones and stuff or smartphones are the dumbing of society.
Yeah.
Because I know 2 numbers. Let me think. I know my own phone number and I know the number to my business. And that's it.
I know hot number 5.
Yeah.
Hot
that's
number
it.
7.
And what's funny is I know our number. I know the hotline number off the top of my head. But when I looked up at the screen, I'm like, I gotta wait, and I literally hesitated till it came up
there.
and use that as a
thanks
as
to
a
our
crutch.
producer. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know what? We don't give enough love to our producer,
There you go.
Tyler Kistner. We call him the coach, out there producing, and we just never give him enough attention. Not only for the radio show, but now with the Vcast, he's out there throwing out some good product. We appreciate you, Tyler. In the coming weeks, as we start expanding all the things we can do video wise, it's gonna be a fun time. But anyway, so yeah, we talked about Matt Ryan. Pants seem to be clear. You got to face now Davenport, Cam Jordan on the other end.
Yep.
It's going to be. Listen, the way I actually watched a game of ours, the last time we played the Falcons, and I mean we were just a far superior team than they were. I do that sometimes when I'm not listening to these podcasts. I'm watching Saints games, but far superior. I have no reason to believe that they're going to catch up. Hey, it's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson-San, Tomas Mauricio. Now we're doing a Vcast. You got to check it out. Anyway, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Don't go anywhere. 97.7 Sports Talk Radio. Hey.
Come on, horns. Give it to me, man.
Welcome back. It's the BS and Beer podcast crew. Dave Romero, Heath Elson-San, Tomas Mauricio, Sports Talk 97.7. Listen, Tomas, the NFL is discussing all kind of rules changes and has everybody up in arms. I'm listening to NFL, Sirius NFL radio, and our special teams coach comes on, and he reminded me when he was talking and watching him on the sidelines at the game, he just reminded me of this. I don't know what. It's just something that I couldn't put my finger on, but I remember it. And producer Tyler figured it out. He knows he's in the control room. Mendelbaum from Seinfeld. If you ever watch Seinfeld, there's an episode where they go to his dad's place and it's a retirement home, and oh man, this guy's a big weightlifter and stuff, and he's like this old guy, and he's it's hilarious. Look it up on YouTube. If I had time, I would throw the video up, but we didn't. But I was really, I don't know what to think about our special teams coach.
Lloyd Bridges?
No, it's not Lloyd. You are ridiculous. Everything that the guy brought up, he was like, oh, it's Bob Papa. Oh, yeah, well, 10 years ago, I did it. Everybody stole it from. The guy is not humble. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
He's like, look, man, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm the man. I'm the guy.
Is he related to you?
No, really, I'm humble. You the guy. See that he went all reverse roles and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a very, introverted, quiet kind of guy.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
indeed.
Myself.
When I'm trying to describe you, those are the words that I used with my friends. One of the things, okay, so the NFL is considering doing away with kickoffs altogether. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, kickoffs are like, I mean, it's something. I don't know how important it is to the game. There's not a ton of big plays, and as far as the Saints concerned, it seems like every time the ball's kicked, 12 yards deep in the end zone, they try to run it out, and we starting at the 7.
Yeah.
So
I'll be glad to see it go just because we won't go to commercial, then have the kickoff, and then go to commercial again.
get to some football.
And what is it? 93% all the kickoffs must have a penalty on them,
Right.
Or somebody's probably has more to do with what injuries. What did they cite that?
Well, yeah, and it's the
reason
injury thing
for it,
is
yeah.
the injury thing is the reason that they're even.
Although I'd
contemplating
argue
this.
there's more injuries
Well,
like that on punts than there are on kickoffs.
They brought up the stats and
Well,
and
they broke it down already. I mean, that's part of the. You can't wedge anymore like they used to wedge. They moved the kickoff point, so now even a bad kicker can get it to the goal line. So, and so like Dave said, we have people take it 10 yards deep and run it out to the 7. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, the real way to play it is just say, you know what? Just need somebody to catch the ball in the end zone, hit a knee, we're good. We'll start at 25. They already changed it to that, so it's ridiculous. To me, I think it's a part of the game that should remain. Sorry.
No,
because we don't have a guy that can run it back. What was the name of the guy who played for the Bears and then he went to Atlanta?
Oh yeah, I know Devin Hester.
Devin Hester.
Yeah.
Hey, just because you don't have a Devin Hester, but if you do, I'm sure you're thinking, man, I want an opportunity to get my guy out there to get him the ball and break it through.
Yeah.
Get it to the 40, get it to the 60, to the 50.
Yeah, like my 12 yards back, he's going to the 60. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, just because.
Beer man, where are you?
Yeah, exactly.
We need the beer man back.
So,
Well, here's the thing: is that I really feel like kickoff. Taking it out of the game would leave like I don't know. I guess my point is maybe I'm just stuck in the past too much. I don't want to see it change so much where they taking out things that are just deeply instilled in me as part of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Want to see the overtime rules change?
You see, now I was okay with the overtime rules change.
Yeah, you ain't that instilled.
Yeah, well, no, let me tell you, back when I was in high school, man, I remember playing a game and it was tied up and I'm 15 or whatever, 16, and the coaches pull us all together. Okay, here's how it works. And we did the overtime that's going on right now in the NFL. Now, it was a little bit different. You start at the 10-yard line, and you have 4 plays, which in college, what is it, 25 now?
Well, it keeps working down depending on how many overtimes you get. You get closer and closer. Depending
Well, no,
on
it always starts at 25, but then after so many overtimes, you have to go for 2.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
in high school, it was simply, and you got to think, you don't have a very reliable kicker, generally speaking, in high school football. And, anyway, so he explained it to us. And, I had no idea. And then everybody's just looking up at the coaches, and the coach is like, look, just go play football and score a touchdown,
Yeah.
And so then we scored, and they got a chance, and we still, had no idea. I've never experienced it. So it's not a rule change for me. It's just, I just don't know. The thing is, I would be more okay with getting rid of the kickoff and just doing, you start at the 20, than some of the ideas that have been tossed around, like doing things where you can't get this much of a running start. Like they're contemplating, they're considering some crazy.
If you're gonna do that, yeah, you just
Like
put the ball at the 25 and start playing.
So,
All
right. Well, anyway,
maybe they're interested in what the NBA's been doing. Maybe they'll go to midfield and
to tip it off.
Tip it off or something.
Go XFL. Just
Or
throw the
do
ball.
a
Let two
rugby
guys.
scrum. We'll
Now
throw
that
it.
would be
Yeah.
fun, incorporating some stuff. Or
There you
do
go.
the thing where what is that where the guys in white and they kick the ball in the white coats and the guy'd walk out and be like, or the 2 finger. No, you don't remember that?
I have no idea.
Anyone? Is it just me? Dude, they would kick the ball up these uprights, but it wasn't like there wasn't a horizontal bar. It was just too tall. And it was, kick the ball, and a guy in a big white doctor coat would just walk out, and he'd walk out, and then he'd stop, and then he'd one finger, or then or he'd walk out and.
So is this the way they treated you at the insane asylum? The guys in the white coat?
Maybe it was a dream. I don't know. No, man. What?
What was this, like Australian rules?
Yes,
football
that's
or
what I
something?
think
Is that
it
what it
was.
was? It
Yeah.
might have been, yeah.
Yeah, so, dude, hey, man, I know my football all the way back to Australian rules football.
There you go.
So, all right. So now, Vaccaro finally gets a little love. It looks like the Colts invited him in for a visit.
Yeah.
It's been, crazy, crazy market for the safeties. The safeties, Reed from the 49ers, he's suing everybody because there's collusion.
Yeah.
Golly, boy, there's collusion everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's collusion. Don't start, Tomas. Don't start. But Vaccaro finally gets some love. It's been a really, really soft safety market. Look, I'm happy that we moved on from Vaccaro because, I'm disappointed in a first-round draft pick. The investment, I'd like to see a return on that.
But we got a return. He lasted for a while with the Saints, so we got a return.
No,
how much of
he
a
wasn't
return
a
do you
bust.
want?
No. I'm just saying, well, you'd like to see him turn into like a Pro Bowler type player. You know?
Did he contribute positively to the Saints' defense? Look, I just don't understand how much more you could ask of the guy. He contributed when he was here. He helped the defense shape up this last year. What little time he played well.
Led the team in games missed because of Adderall. I think he was the kicker.
Again, he came in here. He did his job best he could. We used him the best we could. Time to move on. Thank you very much for your contribution. We go to the next guy.
But here's the thing. He is a good ball player. There were certain things that he did well. For a guy who's kind of like a small linebacker, he covered the slot pretty decent. Probably covered the slot better than most linebackers could. The problem is he's not quite big enough to be a run defender.
Right.
Definitely couldn't play in space. So when you start getting to the point
we upgraded the linebackers. We brought in a cover corner,
a
slot corner.
So it's unnecessary.
Yeah, another safety.
We brought in another safety.
So
we're done.
Time to move on.
Exactly.
Well, and I don't know.
Wishing the best of luck at the Colts.
As of the time of our show, he hasn't been signed. But at least look, I'd be amazed unless. Here's the thing: the NFL knows about things coming down the pipe. So when he's not getting any love and nobody's talking to him, sometimes you have to wonder: is it because they know something? No,
it's the position. It's all these safeties.
You're right.
Yeah, all these safeties are just sitting around on the sideline, going, "Well, when am I going to get my shot?" He got a tryout with Miami, and now with Baltimore. With Indianapolis. So, it's the question of the position right now. That's what it is.
Hey, that's all the show that we have for you this week. Thanks for our producer Tyler, for Heath Elson, Tomas Mauricio. I'm Dave Romero. You've been listening to the BS and Beer podcast on 97.7 Sports Talk Radio.
Later.